Thank you, Natasha Perry. Indeed, as you've correctly stated, the mood is a mood of a conference. While some left with their desired top 7, others left with absolutely nothing. But the mammoth task does continue here at the ANC's 55th conference. As you may remember, it takes place at a time where there is a number of systemic social and economic challenges that the ANC has to address during this conference. You may remember President Cyril Ramaphosa in his political reports highlighted the unemployment among the youth as some of the biggest critical problems that needs to be addressed. I'm joined by Youth Representative Fasiha Hassan, a voting delegate as well here at Nasrec, who seems to be quite pleased with the results that have come out of the conference today. Is that a correct assessment to make?
We are very, very happy. I think today we really demonstrated that branches of the ANC and in the country have voted for renewal. They have voted for an evolution of the party, but more importantly, they have voted for change. And now what's important is translating this particular renewal in the ANC into what's important, and that is the lives of our people.
Well, the presidential candidate that I assume that the Youth League is happy about still has a matter hanging over their head. Does the Youth League believe that President Ramaphosa will make it to 2024 to actually implement some of the resolutions you will be bringing on behalf of the youth to this conference?
Of course, that's what we want. And I think it's also very important to note that the president is not running away from accountability. The president has been very forthright and forthcoming from the very beginning about the matter. Of course, we must allow due process and all of those matters to play out, but I think it should also be very open and clear. Nobody is running away. Nobody's saying that we're going to sweep matters under the carpet. Not at all. We're going to face it. We're going to face it head on. And also importantly, remember, it's not about individuals as well, right? As the Youth League, we're going to continue to push not just for youth representation, but for young people at the decision-making table. And as I speak right now, we are fighting in that room to have more and more young people who will be actually elected to the NEC additionals, so that we can have a more steady and a strong voice in that space.
Well, to interject on that, the question is not about accountability. The question is, with all of this hanging over his head, does the youth believe that he will be able to make it to 2024 to implement these resolutions?
I think he will, but of course we must caveat that and say due process, court processes, etc. must take place. But we are definitely looking forward to supporting the president, and more importantly, as you said, supporting those youth proposals and those youth policies up until at least 2024 and even beyond that.
And earlier during the conference, you did speak to my colleague Bongiwe Zwane about the ANC being in tatters. Is that still your view as you now go into your renewal period with your new leadership?
Things can't change overnight, right? So we also have to be honest about the fact that there's a great deal of work to do. But I'm for one re-energized to say that branches could have done anything. There are 4,600 people in that room who really could have been susceptible to any outcome. And yet, regardless of all of that difficulty, all of that hanging over, all of the dark cloud, we still emerged with branches actually saying we want a renewed ANC, a fair ANC, an anti-corrupt ANC, and that gives me hope. Whether we'll achieve it, of course, we'll have to have follow-up interviews for that. But I think today I'm even more hopeful than I was when I spoke to Bongiwe a few days ago.
You heard President Ramaphosa in his political report discussing the systemic social and economic challenges that we're facing, and you are going into a period where you have to come up with solutions and you have to come up with them fast. Of course, the youth unemployment is on the top of the agenda. What are you proposing realistically that can be done in these next 5-year term?
As I mentioned earlier, we need to declare youth unemployment a national crisis. It's not something that we can dilly-dally on. It requires a number of different interventions. Yes, one of which is policy, but the bigger thing is about streamlining our processes. We have all of these different departments, all of these different agencies, all claiming to do youth development, but nobody's really pulling them together. And I think the president needs to, if we're going to take young people seriously, put that number 1 on the agenda.
All right, thank you so much. That was Fasiha Hassan representing the youth, saying that they need to declare unemployment amongst the youth in the country as a national crisis in order to solve the systemic challenge in the country. Over to you in studio, Bongiwe.